So we're going to start now. We're going to continue actually the laws of Chanukah. We left off just talking about the main things that we have to do on Chanukah, which is lighting candles and saying the blessing of Hallel. These are the two mitzvot that we do, two mitzvot that are from our sages. We spoke about that women should make an effort, at least if they don't pray every day Shacharit, then at least on Chanukah they should pray Shacharit in order for them to say Hallel. And even if they don't pray Shacharit, you can say Hallel without praying Shacharit. But definitely, since it's such an auspicious time during Chanukah, then you want to try to at least in those 8 days to pray Shacharit. We're just going to do a quick recap from last year. It's important that when you light the candles, there's people, everybody from the house, men, women, and children. It's important to make sure that the kids, they understand what's going on, that you educate them, you tell them the stories, they get the Chanukah gelt, the money, Dmei Chanukah. And mainly we stopped about 3 things last shiur that we'll just repeat them to make sure that it's understood. That first of all, the time of lighting the Chanukah. Then some communities they light exactly in Shkia, and some communities light after Tzet HaKochavim, which either way you're talking about not a long difference of time. But you want to make sure that half an hour before candle lighting you don't do anything. You can't eat, you can't read, you can't clean the house. You prepare for the candle lighting half an hour before. For learning Torah, you can be a little bit lenient and learn Torah, but right before candle lighting, you concentrate on preparing for the candle lighting. If you light at the time of Shkia, you have to look at the local calendars exactly when Shkia will be. This week it's going to be 4:35 here. And men, they go to pray Mincha early, so they can have enough time to light the menorah in shul and run home and make sure that everybody's ready and everybody's there. It's important that the entire family will be there. You make a whole family gathering out of it. And we spoke about it in the previous shiur. You can find it online if you missed anything or if you want to recap it, because we discussed a few topics in length. One of them was about the type and the structure of the menorah, of the Chanukah, which is extremely important that the Chanukah will be kosher, with not all sorts of inventions and additions. I know people like my kids, they come home from school with Chanukah, they want to use them. It's important the Chanukah will be kosher, especially for the father. If the kids want to light the menorah and it's not 100%, fine. But the main menorah has to be kosher, the candles have to be in line, they have to be straight, they have to be the same height, and the shamash, the ninth candle has to be separated from them. And the time to light the Chanukah, like we said, some light it in Shkia, in sunset, some light it after Tzet HaKochavim, right after the stars go out. And you have to be present. You have to be next to the candles for at least half hour when the candles are lighting. In some communities, based on the teachings of the Arizal, we stay next to the Chanukah for 50 minutes. So you want to make sure that the wax, if you use wax or if you use cups with oil, that there's enough oil that it will burn the entire time. So that's extremely important, that if you are particular about sitting 50 minutes next to the candles, which that's what we do, then you want to make sure that they have enough either wax or oil in the cups. I also spoke about the remainings of the cups, that if you don't do a condition that you're not going to use the remaining of the oil, then you cannot throw that oil or the cup. We spoke about it in length last week. You had last class. There was a lot of questions about it. The easiest way out is to make sure that you make a condition right before you light the candles, which of course has to be for the men, that they're not going to use the remaining of the oil or the wax, therefore it can be thrown away. But I mentioned something very important, that in most cases, The man comes home after shul, it's hectic, the kids are jumping up and down with the donuts, and if you have a lot of guests and family, not always you remember to make the condition in your mind that you're not going to use this oil. So you want to make sure that if you didn't do a condition, that this oil is not going to be thrown or used for the next day or for anything else, rather it has to be burnt. You can either burn it the same day, you make yourself a little bonfire, or a little, I suggested to take a tin from maybe olives or pickles or whatever, put it all in and burn it. But you want to be particular with that because it was used for a mitzvah. You don't want to make sure, you want to make sure you're not chas v'shalom desecrating the holiness of the mitzvah. And we're going to continue going. We stopped at the place where you position the candles, which we started talking about that because some people light the menorah next to the window in order to make what's called pirsum nisa, advertising the miracle. But we touched it last class that the problem with the window is if you live on the third or fourth floor, then you might not get the effect of advertising the miracle because nobody walks like that. And it has to be kind of in eye level. So there are a few halachot regarding to where we put it. We're going to go through them. Be'ezrat Hashem, it says, להדלקת נר חנוכה מצוותה בפתח הסמוך לרשות הרבים משום פרסום הניסה. You have to light the candle as close as possible to a gate that will show the light of the candles facing the street. It's mentioning Reshut HaRabim, which is the domain of the public, in order for it to be advertising of the miracle. וכך נהגו בזמן המשנה והגמרא, בזמן הזה שאנו דרים בין האומות מדליקים בבית שהוא דר בו. Once, at the time of the Mishnah and the Gemara, they used to light it outside completely. Now in our time, especially that many years ago there was a lot of problems for the Jews in many countries that they lived, so you light it in the house where you live, which is recommended that you do it in the main room where you sit and eat and like a living room or a dining room, and not lighting it in the room, because sometimes people do want to light it next to the window, but it's their bedroom that it's facing the street. נוהגים להעמיד את המנורה על כיסא בעובי המזוזה בחלל פתח החדר משמאל הנכנס דהיינו מול המזוזה. Now, how do you position the menorah? It's extremely important that the menorah is not too low. It cannot be lower than 3 tefachim. Tefach is exactly like that. It's 8 centimeters. So it can be lower than 3 tefachim. 3 tefachim will be 24 centimeters, something like that. This is way more than 3 tefachim. This is, I think, more like half a meter. So what we do is you either put it on a too small table like that, or a chair. Needless to say that it has to be stable and it has to be straight. Especially if you light with oil, because if it will be tilted on the side, then all the oil will spill. And of course, just for safety, you have to make sure that it's safe and it's stable and kids are not going to bump into it. I mean, we had numerous accidents in my history with little kids bumping into the table or something, and all the menorahs go flying everywhere. So you want to, of course, make sure that it's safe and that it's in a good surrounding and it's not too close to a window, not to like a drape. Of course, this is not a safety class, but I'm assuming that any responsible adult lights the menorah, make sure you have fire there. The fire is exposed, so you want to make sure that it's safe. But in regards to halacha, it has to be not less than 3 tefachim, which is 24 centimeters, which will be a little bit less than a foot.
The bottom of the menorah or the flames?
No, the bottom of the menorah. So a tefach, if you want to calculate it in inches, I mean 2.5 centimeters is an inch. So you make the calculation how much it is in inches. But just to be safe, you put it a foot above the ground. Now, you want to put it right in the entrance of the home, at the left side of the entrance, because on the right side will be the mezuzah. And we put it on the left side, so while you're lighting the candles, you are surrounded with 2 mitzvot. On one side you have the mitzvah of mezuzah, on the other side you have the mitzvah of the candles. That way you're surrounded with 2 mitzvot. Therefore the menorah will be on the left side of the entrance of the home. And of course, again, there's many questions in that because it depends how your home is. Sometimes the entrance of the home is a corridor. Sometimes the entrance of the home is you go in right into the kitchen or right into the living room. Don't have to be OCD on exactly on the position and start measuring. I get phone calls, I'm 37 centimeters from the door and 42 centimeters there's a window. You don't have to be so particular. It has to be placed in a safe, good place, that when the door is open, it's still showing out to the public domain. And you want to make sure that you are between the mezuzah and the candles, that you are surrounded with the mitzvot. Now, כאשר רבים מדליקים בבית אחד, ייזהרו לשים כל אחד את נרותיו במקום מיוחד. It's extremely important that if you have many menorot, many chanukiyot, then they're separated from each other, that the candles might not touch each other. So for example, when we light candles, so all three of my sons, they also light with us, so we end up having 4 chanukiyot. So if it's not spread out, then sometimes the candles are very close to each other. And again, in regards to safety, when you put your hand to light the Chanukah, if it's close to another one, you can push it and you can chas v'shalom get burned. But in regards to the halacha, the candles cannot be connected to each other. That it's not going to look like your menorah is part of my menorah, and then I'm actually forming more candles than I'm supposed to. So it's extremely important that the Chanukiyot are separate from each other. מצווה להניח את הנרות למעלה משלושה טפחים מן הקרקע. Like I said before, it has to be more than 3 טפחים, more than 24 centimeters. ולמטה מ10 טפחים, and not higher than 10 טפחים. 10 טפחים will be 80 centimeters, which is something about that. 2.5 feet. אם הניחם למעלה מ10 טפחים, if you had it on a much higher place, more than 10 tfachim, then it's fine. But the mitzvah is to do it between the 3 tfachim and the 10 tfachim. Bezrat Hashem, after this class, we're going to have another class with a little bit of a mystical explanation of the candle lightings based on the teachings of the Arizal. And he explains why we want to be particular with this gap. We're not going to stop for it now, but we'll talk about it the next class. If you put it on a higher place than 10 tfachim, again, 10 tfachim is 80 centimeters, which will be around 2.5 feet. If you put it above 10 tfachim, you're fine. It's good, it's kosher. But since we want to be very particular and we want to hit exactly on the point, on the spiritual point, to do it the right way, you want to make sure that it's between the 3 and the 10 tfachim. And like I said, we'll talk about the mystical explanation why we do that. אך למעלה מ-20 אמה לא יצא. If it's above 20 אמה, then it's already not kosher, you cannot light it. Amma is about 30 centimeters, like a foot. So you make the calculation in heights. That's why I think you asked in the last class, what about these public menorahs when they light it very, very high? If they want to make it kosher, they measure that it's not going to be too high, or at least that the base of the Chanukah is in the limit of the height. Now we don't have that problem because we don't do these massive menorah lightings. But if you have a shul or a school and you want to make a big menorah, as long as the base of the menorah is in the right height, I'm sure you're not going to go past 20 amma. You're talking about a couple, like 6-7 feet. It's 6-7 meters. It's a very pretty big menorah. No, the thing is that there are these big public lightings, especially Chabad around the world, and they make sure that they make a big lighting. I trust that they measure that it doesn't go over 20 amma. I mean, 20 amma is a pretty big height. 3 amot is a meter, so that you're talking about 7 meters. 7 meters is like a 3-floor building. So just that you'll have the proportion. An average ceiling is about 2.5 meters of a normal room. I mean, these are very high ceilings, but on a regular apartment, it's about 2.5 meters, the ceiling. So you're looking about 3-floor buildings. So even those big public lightings, usually they'll not go over 20 amma. And like I said, if the base of the menorah is in that gap, you don't have a problem. But we don't have this problem. We don't light menorahs in the size of 7 meters. But you definitely want to make sure that you within the height and not go above that. Next, צריך להדליק את הנרות בבית שבו הוא אוכל בקביעות, ולכן ההולך לאכול בבית חברו באקראי צריך לחזור לביתו ולהדליק שם. It's extremely important that you light the candles in the place where you live. And not only that, where you also eat. So if you're going to light candles at a friend's house, so if you're going to eat by a friend, if you're going to eat by a friend, then it's just a visit, you have to go home to light your candles. Now, if you are a family and you are invited out and you light the candles there, some will be very particular and they'll go home, light it at home, and then go to the party or to the public candle lighting. But it's extremely important that you do candle lighting in your main home, and especially where you eat. Meaning that it's the same thing with Shabbat. When you light Shabbat candles, you want to make sure that the Shabbat candles are next to the room where you're eating. So if your living room, when you light your candles, is separated from the dining room, then you want to make sure that you're lighting the Shabbat candles in the dining room, because you have to eat where the candles are. So, Bezrat Hashem, when we're going to start learning very soon all the laws of Shabbat, the first chapter will be about candles, and we're going to learn how you can light it on the table, how you're able to move the candles on Shabbat, because the candles are muktzeh. But if you do it in a certain way, on a tray, and there's all sorts of conditions, then you can move the candles. But Chanukah candles we're not allowed to move. So you want to make sure that the Chanukah candles are in the main room. That's especially if it's a living room and you're sitting down and you need to enjoy the candles, you have to be next to the candles. That's where it becomes tricky, that if you live and their entrance is a corridor and you can't really sit there when you're lighting the candles, then you have to figure out a way how to light the candles in a place where you can sit and you can still see the candles. For example, for many years I used to live in a home that when I walked in, there was like a little area, there was a closet, we had a mirror and a place to put all the shoes and stuff like that, and then it was like a right turn and a left turn, like a zigzag going into the apartment. So it was very, very difficult to make sure that the candles are in the right place, and we had to bring these little folding chairs to put it in a way, because my living room was literally like in a zigzag way to go into the living room. It wasn't a big apartment, and it was very hard to position the candles in a way that I'm sitting in the living room and I see it. So we had to really improvise to make sure that we're sitting, enjoying the candles, and I'm still lighting it in a way that the outside can see. So like I said before, you don't have to be OCD about the angle, but you want to make sure that it's done right. Next.
So then after 15 minutes, we can move the candles, or also not?
To move the candles, after 50 minutes you can move the candles.
After what time? No,
After the 50 minutes that they're lighting.
50?
Yeah.
Or half hour?
If you're particular with 50 minutes, then you wait 50 minutes. If you only do 30 minutes, then after the 30 minutes you can move them. But this is only on weekdays. On Shabbat you can't move them. They're muktzeh. We're going to get to Shabbat. I mean, I don't know if we'll get to it in this class. If we don't get to it in this class, we'll definitely talk about it on Thursday. But just to mention it, the candles you light on Friday night, we always have one Shabbat that we light candles. The candles that you light on Friday evening, they're 100% muktzeh, and you're not allowed to move them. And you're going to make sure that you're positioning the Chanukah, the menorah, in a place that will not need to be moved. Because once you light the candles, it goes already into Shabbat. So that's in regards to Shabbat. On weekdays, after they burn for the amount of time, then you can move them. If you're particular with 50 minutes, and after 50 minutes, 50, you move it. If you're particular with 30 minutes, then you let it burn for 30 minutes, and then you can move it. And then you can reposition the menorah. For that, it's extremely important to take into consideration that once you're moving it, and I mean, a lot of the Chanukiyot, when you buy these cups and you put them in, they're not sitting so secure. You start moving it, and then they all start falling. So again, it depends on the Chanukiyah. Some of the Chanukiyot are more solid, and the cup goes all the way in, and it's easy to move. This is just in regards to safety and precautions. But I know with our Chanukiyot, their cups are not sitting so well. You start moving in a little bit, it all falls down. And in the non regarding to halacha and regarding to the mystical part of it, you do not want to turn out the light. So if today's cups, they sometimes burn for 2-3 hours, you want to make sure that it's burning and you're not responsible of turning it out. Bechlal, in regards to the mystical part of it, not the halacha part of it, you want to make sure that you're not turning the lights out. So if it lights for 3 hours, then let it light for 3 hours. A few years ago, we traveled. We lived in America and we traveled during Chanukah to Israel. So and our flight was Motzei Shabbat. So I had to come home, do Havdalah, light the candles, finish packing and leaving. So we had a problem that the candles, they would lit more than 50 minutes, but I couldn't leave the home when the candles are lighting because I had to drive far away to the airport. So what we did is we asked a friend of my wife to come home and she babysat the candles. No, I didn't want to turn the lights out.
No, but you couldn't leave it like...
I wouldn't live in a house with fire. For safety, not for halacha.
No, if it's like in a good place.
No, I wouldn't leave a house. We left for 3 weeks, and I wanted to turn all the lights off and lock everything. We left to the airport. So I mean, if you're in your home and you're just living for half an hour and you feel that it's safe, fine. But we left for vacation.
But it's fine for the candles to lit more than...
Yeah.
It's fine.
They can light for 5 hours.
Okay.
But you want to make sure that you're not turning out the fire.
That's fine.
So I'm just commenting that a few years ago, our flight was Motzei Shabbat. So the candles were lighting for about an hour plus, and we had to leave. So I didn't want to turn the lights out. I didn't. Technically, yeah, but mystically, you don't want to turn the lights out. Any candle, you don't want to light it out. And that candle, for sure, Shabbat candle, the Chanukah candle. I'll give you, like, we're going to start learning very soon. We're going to have a beautiful course about the mystical explanations about every little thing that we do in Shabbat. Or every little act that we do in Shabbat, most people, they don't even know what they're doing it. You ask now any average person why you dip the challah in salt for 3 times, most people don't even know why you do that. And all these little things that we do on Shabbat, I'm not talking about secular people with no background. Ask religious people, they don't know why they do it. So we're going to have a beautiful course about all the little things on Shabbat, why we do them. Of course, when you know why you do it, makes you want to do it more and to do it better. So one of the things that we do after Havdalah is it's extremely important to have our 4th meal, which is called Sudat Melaveh Malka. And in that Suda, in that meal, we light candles too. Usually, it's the man that lights the candles. You light it without a blessing, but you eat this meal to the light of the candles. This is also candles that you don't want to turn out. So almost in any case that you light a candle for the sake of a mitzvah, a lot of women, they have a habit that when they do a frashat challah, when they do the mitzvah of challah, they light a candle. So any candle that is lit for a spiritual reason, I'm not talking about the romantic candles right now. For a spiritual reason, you want to make sure that you don't turn out the light. So in this particular case, I did not want to turn the light of the Chanukah off, so we called a friend and she babysat the candles. So, but anyways, we sidetracked. The point is that they have to burn, they have to be in a safe and secure place. After the time has passed, you can move the Chanukah and you let it burn. Most people, they buy those kits in the Judaica stores and the supermarkets. These candles usually light for 2-3 hours. Just let it light. It's bringing unbelievable light into the house, and you don't want to turn it out or move it. Next, the time that you light the candles, like I mentioned before, some people do it right after Shkia, and some people do it at Tzet HaKochavim. You go by whatever method you go by. But בדיעבד, אם לא הדליק בזמן ההדלקה, יכול להדליק בברכה כל זמן שבני ביתו ערים. If for whatever reason, we want to do it on time. Like I mentioned that on Motzei Shabbat, we're going to rush to light the candles. You want to do it on time. And in the next class, when we're going to talk about why specifically the height, we're also going to talk about why specifically the time. But if for whatever reason you miss the time, then you can light it any other time after with the bracha, with saying the blessing, as long as you have people around you. So there will be the advertising of the miracle, which means that if the sunset is 4:30 and the Tzet HaKochavim, the coming out of the stars is around 5:05, technically if you're doing a party or you're waiting for many guests, you can light at 10 o'clock at night or 8 o'clock at night, and you can still say a blessing on the mitzvah, as long as there's people around it. But if, like we said before, if the family members are already sleeping or there's nobody there and there's not going to be the advertising of the miracles, you cannot say it with a blessing. This also teaches us that if you live by yourself and you light it by yourself, then you can't say a bracha unless there's somebody out. And even if you're in the middle of nowhere, you can still call somebody from the street and tell him, come here, look what I'm doing, say amen, and I'm going to tell you why I'm lighting the menorah. You can do the advertising of the miracle. But you definitely want to make sure that you're lighting on time, because you wanna hit that auspicious moment that we're going to talk about in the next class, why I want to hit the time. But now we're talking about after the fact. If I'm late, I came home late from work, I came home from traveling, a late flight or whatever it is, you can light it any time, even at 3 in the morning. Like I mentioned before, I'm just repeating a few of the things. Once the time has come to light candles, you want to prevent from doing anything, not to eat, not to learn Torah, not to work. You want to prepare yourself for the candles. Not to smoke. Not to smoke, I would recommend not to smoke at any time. But if you must smoke, then you are allowed to smoke prior to lighting the menorah.
Also, 3 a.m. you can light the candles.
Yeah, if a person comes very late at night and he didn't light, he has to light it. No, the kalta regel min hashuk is the when you can start lighting the menorah. I mean, not before that, but after that you can.
Not before kalta.
Well, the Gemara says from shkia, from sunset, ad shelo kalta regel min hashuk, till the last foot left the market. This is the time where you can start lighting the menorah. You can't light the menorah at 4 o'clock or 20 minutes before candle lighting. For example, in Shabbat, you can accept Shabbat. No, that's before Tzet HaKochavim. Yeah, because in the olden days, when the Gemara is talking about, exactly, when the Gemara is talking about that there's no people in the market, in our days, sun goes down, they turn on the lights. 2,000 years ago, there wasn't lights. So
you light with that bracha and everything?
yeah, if there's family and everybody, yeah, why not? You have to. So we're going to also go later on about the laws, what happens if I forgot to light the menorah. So I can, there's a question, maybe I can light during the day, because it's still the day. We're going to go to talk about that. But again, I'm giving you an example from my real life. Like I said that a few years ago we traveled on Chanukah. So we left America. It was Motzei Shabbat, so I was able to light the candles. But flying to Israel, with the time difference, we landed in Israel extremely late. So we lit up the menorah at 11 o'clock at night. Till we came home. Till we landed. Till we drove from the airport. Till we came to the home. Till we schlepped in everything. So we lit up the menorah, I think it was 11 or 12 o'clock at night.
The same with the Myriv, right?
Yeah.
Myriv.
Yeah. And as long as there's... Exactly. Now as long as there's family, doesn't have to be family. As long as it's friends, family, people around you, then you still light the Chanukah, and there's no problem.
There is a limit at the time?
The limit is that the time when you start lighting, and the limit in regards to lighting at the end, we're going to talk about it soon, because there's a few laws and rules regarding that. And of course, you only do that if you really don't have an option. And you don't do that because you just want to light late. If you're traveling, if you work a night shift, anything like that, then this is after the fact. B'di'evid, bilchatchila, before the fact, you do not want to delay the candle lighting 1 second. You stop everything that you do, and you work all around it. I mean, I've been to weddings that they stop the wedding to light candles, and they plan the wedding in such a way that when it's time to light candles, it's between the reception or whatever, which is actually a beautiful ceremony. I've been to a couple weddings that they light the candles in the wedding. But I've been to a wedding not too long ago that the chuppah was very early, and then when it was time to light the menorah, then everybody went home, and the chatan and the kala, they went to their new home, they lit the menorah in the home, and then they came back to the hall, and everybody went to their home. So the wedding took a break, and they're like, okay, they're taking a break, we're going to light the candles, and then they all came back. But again, this is all after the fact. You do not want to delay the candle lighting. When the time for the mitzvah to come, you don't wait, you don't delay, you make sure you do the mitzvah. Now, the order of lighting the candles. This is important because a lot of people make mistakes. First of all, this is pretty obvious, but the first night we light 1 candle, the second night 2 candles, the third night 3 candles, and so forth. This is extremely important. I don't know if we'll do it this coming Thursday or during Chanukah, but we will have a beautiful shiur why we actually go up with the candles, because there's a machloket. There was one opinion that say we should light them all together. One opinion said that we have to light every day 8 candles. One opinion said that we have to light first 8, then 7, then 6. So there was a few opinions when they had to decide how. And there's a very interesting explanation why we go what's called beseder oleh, going up. So it's extremely important because some people don't know that. So the first day you light 1, the second day you light 2, and so forth, and you end up lighting at the last night 8 candles. Needless to say, we don't have to mention that the shamash, the candle that you use to light the candle, this is not counted in the minyan of the candles. This is not one of the candles. But the first night you light 1 candle, and then second, and so forth. In the first candle lighting, the first night, we say 3 brachot. First of all, we say Ladlik Ner Chanukah, then Shasa Nisim, and in the first night we say Shichianu. Shichianu Kimanu Vigianu Lazman Hazeh. Shichianu we only say on the first night. We don't say it on the next night. So first night of Chanukah, we say 3 brachot. Shakishanu b'mitzvosav v'tzivanu Ladlik Ner Chanukah. The next one is Shasa Nisim La'avotenu B'yamim Ha'em B'zman Hazeh. And the third bracha is Shechianu Kimanu V'gianu Lazman Hazeh. But the first night we say 3 brachot, the second and third and fourth till the end we say 2 blessings. Okay, very important. This is for the ones who are actually lighting the menorah. You cannot start lighting the candles before you finish saying the blessing. I've seen in many places that people start lighting the candles as they're saying the blessing. You're not allowed to do that. You have to say the bracha, and then once you finish the bracha, everybody answers amen, and then you go to start lighting the candles. So that's extremely important that you make sure that if you notice somebody do it, you tell him first finish the bracha, then you light the candles, then you start singing. Yes?
In some families, they so that each family member lights 1 candle. Is that incorrect?
Yeah, you're not allowed to do that. No, the person who lights the candles, who says the bracha, has to light the candles.
All of them.
Yeah. You can't start sharing that. It's not a bar mitzvah that just to give people to light candles. So that's why if they want people to participate, then I've seen in many families, and sometimes we did it with our younger kids, and the younger kids get a Chanukah and we just let them light. I mean, the Chanukah today you can buy these disposable ones. The colorful candles, they cost $1.50, 5 shekels. I don't know something ridiculous. So for our young kids, I mean, last year my daughter was 2 years old. She wanted to participate. She didn't want to be left out. So we bought her a little Chanukah with little candles. We held her hand and she felt that she's participating and she got excited. So each one can get their own menorah. But the person who says the bracha, he has to light the candles. This is not like the Olympics that each one gets to light one of the candles. So make sure you're not doing that too. It's extremely important that all these things are done the right way. So like I said, you don't light the candles before you finish the brachot. Now, extremely important because people get it wrong. And I'm just going to read it to make sure that there's no mistakes. The first candle you light on the right side of the menorah. We're sliding from right to left. So, the first night, when you're facing the menorah, not when you're standing in the back. If I'm facing and I'm lighting it, the candle has to be on the right side of the menorah. בלילה השני מוסיפים עוד נר, לשמאלו וכן הלאה. So the next night, I will put 2 candles, starting from the right, and then the second night, I will put to the left, and so forth. So every night, I go from left to right, and every night I add 1 candle to the left of the candle that I lit the night before. And it's extremely important. I've seen people lighting it the wrong way. So just to reiterate, first night is a candle on the right, then I add the second one to the left, and so forth, and we keep on going.
We light first the new candle for the new day first.
Exactly. So תחילה מדליקים את הנר שנוסף. On the first night, I'm only lighting 1 candle. I don't have a problem, and I'm not going to get confused. The second night, when I have already 2 candles, if I'm looking at the menorah, I have 2 candles to my right. The second night, I will light the second candle, and then the right candle. I light from left to right. Let's read it inside. תחילה מדליקים את הנר שנוסף באותו יום, ואחר כך את קודמיו, מימין לשמאל. To make sure, then every day, whatever candle I add, that's the candle I start, and then I go down back to the candles from the day before. So, this is left to right. And again, I have to face the menorah. I'm not standing on the side, and I can't stand on behind on the menorah. But to make sure, we put the candles right to left, but we light them left to right. Make sure you don't mess that up. הנרות צריכים לדלוק לפחות חצי שעה אחר צאת הכוכבים. This is for your question because you're very particular with the time. The candles have to light at least half an hour after צאת הכוכבים. You following? They have to light half hour, 30 minutes after צאת הכוכבים. Which means that if you light at the time of Shkia, then they have to light for 50 minutes. That's why I said before that some congregations, they make sure that the candles are lighting for 50 minutes. Why? Because they light in Shkia, not in Tzet HaKochavim. But the most important thing to remember here is that the light of the candles, they have to burn for at least half an hour after Tzet HaKochavim. Tzet HaKochavim is the coming out of the stars. If it's a cloudy day and you cannot see the stars, then look in a calendar that tells you exactly the time, and you have to make sure that it's at least half an hour after Tzet HaKochavim. So you have got to make sure that if you light in sunset, which is Shkia, then the candles light for at least 50 minutes. It's extremely important. לפני הדלקת הנרות צריך להיות במנורה מספיק שמן או שערה וכדומה כדי לדלוק חצי שעה, ועל פי מנהג דלאל יהיה בשמן מספיק לדלוק 50 דקות. This is also extremely important. The 3 major rules that we got to remember here. It's before you light the candles, you have to make sure you have enough oil that it would light for 50 minutes. So now, if you're buying these ready-made kits, you have no problems. They are kosher enough that they light at least an hour and a half. You have no problem. But some people, what they do is they buy the cup, they take a wick, they take this little cardboard and they put the wick inside, then they pour their oil. Sometimes the oil burns fast and it's not burning for 50 minutes. And then they have a problem. So it's extremely important that if you do that, then that you make sure that the cups are big and that there's enough oil and then you might even want to make a test the day before to make sure that the oil doesn't burn fast.
But the cups that you get with the Chanukah, it's enough for...
Yeah, that's what I said. When you buy the ready-made kit,
No, not already. When you buy only the cups and the oil separately, the little cups it's enough time.
Yeah.
For 2 hours when the oil, with the oil.
Exactly.
Separately.
Yeah, but the thing is that if you buy the ready-made kit, you don't pour the oil in, it's ready for you. Sometimes when people pour the oil, if they don't put enough and the oil burns fast, then it's not going to burn enough. You have to make sure. The thing is that some oils, they burn faster, and some oils, they burn slower. Last class, there was a lady who asked if she can light with canola oil and not with olive oil. She mentioned that the olive oil is more where the fire is more wild, and the canola oil was more the fire was more calm. In regards to halacha, all the oils are kosher. Any oil you can light the menorah, but you want to make sure that some oils burn fast. You want to make sure that it will last at least 50 minutes. So this is particular to the people who make it themselves. If you're buying those ready-made kits, you don't have a problem. They're kosher, they light for a long time, it's not going to burn the oil, and you're good to go. I'm only saying all these things if you're making it yourself, if you stuck in a place that you don't have those candles and you have to improvise, then the fire has to light at least half an hour after Tzet HaKochavim starts coming out. And again, if you buy the ready-made kits, you're good to go. I'll tell you what's another problem. Some people light with wax candles. They burn out like that. They don't last for 50 minutes.
Depends which one. There's the one that becomes oily, so 3, 4, 5...
No, that's no problem. But I'm talking about these skinny, colorful candles, the popular candles that everybody light on Chanukah, that when I was a kid, that was our activity. We used to burn them, and the wax would drip in colors. We would take a bottle, and of course it has to be a glass bottle, if not it's going to melt the bottle. But we would do like designs, hold the bottle, make the wax melt on the bottle, with different colors, different candles, and we would make a design. That would be our activity. So if you take these common colorful candles, they burn for like maybe 10 minutes. They burn right away. So this will not be a kosher candle lighting. If you buy the thick wax candles that burn for 2-3 hours, you have no problem. If you're talking about those cups that it starts as a wax and they slowly dissolve into oil, it's all kosher. But the bottom, excuse me? Yeah. But the point is just to make sure that the candles are lighting for at least 30 minutes after the stars go out. You wanted to ask something?
The person who mentioned the canola and the oil, which one did she say that burns faster?
She didn't say which one burns faster. She just mentioned that the olive oil, she said it's like the fire is like a little bit more wild, and she found that the canola oil, the candle is a little bit more relaxed. I didn't test it myself, I don't know, but I don't know. She didn't say about the speed of it.
Somebody asked me, can we say Tehillim while we are watching the camera?
Yeah, why not?
Why at night you don't think
It's recommended.
Chanukah, it's like it's the same level of Yom Tov or Shabbat that you can say wherever you want.
Shabbat you can say at night here?
Yeah,
I
Shabbat?
thought only on Rosh Hashanah.
No, Shabbat you can say anytime you want, you can say Tehillim. Not only can, it's recommended and you want to. There's no dinim, there's no gvurot on Shabbat at night or Yom Tov. So there's no problem of saying Tehillim. Since you already brought it up, in our generation, most poskim, they say that even at night you can say Tehillim. Just have in your mind about all the sick people in the hospitals and all the danger that people are in, have in mind, and you can say Tehillim at night.
Good to know. Thank you. And a question, is it good to put in the cups first put water and then oil, and then I avoid the situation where there's oil remaining at the bottom that is not burned.
You can do that. If you're asking in regards to Chanukah, you can do that. If
Yeah.
you're asking in regards to Shabbat, don't do that.
Why?
Because when you put water in the cup, I used to do that once. When I became religious, my wife used to light with oil, and I used to prepare the cups for her. There's a mitzvah for the man to prepare the oil or the candles for the woman. So I used to put a little bit of water for the same reason. But I later on found out that when I'm putting water, I'm basically preparing the candle to turn out. So I'm taking the responsibility of turning it out. And I'm not allowed to do that. It has to be turned out by itself.
On Shabbat?
Lots of people do
Yeah,
that.
I know. I heard from a very big rabbi not to do that.
I mix it with the neriot.
Excuse me?
Put neriot and then put oil.
Yeah, but I used to put water to turn it out. And this rabbi told me, do not do it because you are preparing for the candle to turn out, and you're not allowed to do that. No, I used to do that because sometimes it goes all the way to the end, and then the glass would
Just
explode.
cleaner with the
So
water.
it's good.
Exactly.
It's clean.
It's good that it explodes.
Betach.
Yeah, so anyway, we get.
Yeah, it's a good sign.
Can
Okay, can.
They
Yeah.
explode.
Of course, if it explodes, of course it's great.
It's a good sign, yes.
Okay.
Right.
But for Chanukah you can put that. But if you do that for the keeping of the clean, you can do that. You have no problem. As long as they light for over 30 minutes after Tzedek Kochavim.
While it's already
No,
burning.
no, that you're not allowed to do.
Why?
First of all, 99% if you're going to add oil while it's burning, it's going to turn it out. 99%. Because unless the cup is this big and you can very gently pour it in, fine. But the cups are usually this big. Anything you put a little bit closer, that's it. The candle will turn. It will turn out.
It's true that 100%.
Besides, all these questions, you know, why get to a point that you have to refill it as it's going? Prepare it well the first time, make it kosher when you light it, and you have no problems. Don't need to start thinking, how am I going to add oil? I guarantee to you that most likely if you'll come to pour oil in the cup, while the candle is lighting, it will turn out. And then you're going to have a problem. So better not to do it. You know, our life now is much, much easier. Just buy these ready-made kits. They're kosher. It's pure oil. They light for a long time. You don't have to clean the cup. You can throw everything after. And now we have an easy life. So don't look...
Preparing the mitzvah is
Yeah.
the point.
Yeah. Yeah, going to the supermarket is preparing for the mitzvah.
You buy, you have to
Excuse me?
You can throw out the disposable cups.
If you do what I said before, that you have the condition, you throw the cups. Tov, let's continue. We're going to have a few more minutes, then we go to the next class. Where were we? Let's just finish this siman and then we'll finish. So, it's extremely important. We said that the candles are going to light for 30 minutes after Tzedek Kochavim. If you light by Shkia, make sure that the candles are lighting for about 50 minutes. If the candles light after that, it's good, it's kosher, just leave it. Next, very important, Asur l'shtamesh b'or ner Chanukah. We're not allowed to use the light of the candles. What does it mean? You're not allowed to bend your book like this if it's dark and to read. A lot of people, they want to make it special. They turn the lights off. They want to get into the atmosphere. You're not allowed to benefit pleasure or derive pleasure from the light of the candles. So again, one example out of many. If it's dark, you can't go like this with a book. You can't do anything that the light will serve for you any benefit.
So you really need lights on, because if you turn off all your lights, the lights in your...
So don't turn off the lights.
It's be your help to see.
Exactly. So don't turn off the lights, or you leave one light on, or you'll see in a second what's the solution. לכן נוהגים להניח לידם את השמש. That's why we put next to them the shamash. The shamash is the candle that uses to light, and then you don't have a problem. That's why the shamash is extremely important, that it's a bigger candle, that it's a little bit separate from the rest of the candles, and then you don't have a problem. The reason why I'm mentioning this now, because sometimes the shamash burns out before the time, and then you don't have the shamash. So again, if you're buying the ready-made kits making our life easy. Yeah, I have to get commission now for the ready-made kits. The ready-made kits, the shamash is thick and big, so it burns out much.
Ready-made kits, the shamash is also oil. It's not a candle.
No, the ready-made kits, the shamash is not oil. If the shamash is oil, it's not good.
I bought a kit. It's like a triangle shape. It comes with the cups ready and it has no candles. Only
The triangle, the kit will have 36 candles.
No, she's talking about the shamash.
So the kit will come with a bag with 8 wax candles.
My kid didn't come with any of them.
So you have to make sure that first of all, the shamash, it's recommended that the shamash is going to be wax, that it's separate, and it has to be different and separate from the candles. So most of the Judaica stores, you buy a bag with these thick wax candles. They're big, they're thick, they're tall, and you use them. You don't want it to be equal to the candles you use for the Chanukah. And I didn't see kits that they have shamashim coming in it as in a cup.
Every year I have it and I have leftovers because it goes with
So I don't know.
40.
I only promote the kits that I know.
How can you
So-
shamash be an oil-based one? Because how are you going to light?
No, people light with a candle, but they put the cup like as a shamash.
The most important thing is that the No, it's the right way to do it. It's the right way to do it. First of all, you have to understand the shamash has to be completely different than the other candles. The height has to be different, the look has to be different. It's only for you to light it, to use. The reason why we put it aside is only for the fact that I just said that we're not allowed to derive pleasure out of the lights of the candles. That's the reason why we keep the shamash. I've seen in some congregations that they blow it out, that you're not supposed to do that. The shamash has to stay. The reason why we use these long wax candles is because it has to burn above the height, above the candles of the Chanukah. So you want to make sure that your shamash is also kosher, and mainly you want to make sure that you're not deriving pleasure out of the light of the Chanukah. So you can't read towards the Chanukah, you can't put like your hand next to it. You have to make sure that you're not deriving any type of pleasure from the lights of the candles. In use. Yeah, not play. No, so I said the wrong word. Then you can't derive any use of that candles. That's why we have the shamash. And listen, don't turn the lights off. That's to make a long story short. Now, כדי שאם יעשה איזה דבר ליד הנרות ישתמש באורו, ויש להניחו קצת למעלה מן הנרות כדי שיהיה ניכר שאינו ממניינם. Exactly like we just mentioned, the shamash has to be a little bit removed and a little bit above the candles, that it's not going to look like it's part of the candles. It has to be pretty obvious that the shamash is not part of the minion of the candles. נוהגים להחמיר שלא להדליק נר חנוכה אחד מנר חנוכה אחר. It's extremely important that you don't light one candle of Chanukah from a different Chanukah candles. And that also, you should take to that also for Shabbat candles. Try not to light a Shabbat candle from a Shabbat candle. But in Chanukah, and again, it's not a prohibition. It's important not to do it. That we don't light a Chanukah candle from a Chanukah candle. Okay. You can't light, you should try not to light a Chanukah candle from a Chanukah candle, and needless to say, you're not allowed to light the shamash from a Chanukah candle. If for whatever reason, I'll give you a scenario. You have 5 candles, 6 candles, 8 candles. You start lighting them one by one. Then the shamash went out because you pushed it too close or something. Some people go to the Chanukah candle and light the shamash. You are not allowed to do that. You have to light it from a match.
I was going to ask, lighter or match?
Yeah, you light it from a match. If you don't have many matches or whatever, then take a small candle, put it on the side and light it, because that's what happens to a lot of people, that the shamash keeps turning out. Especially when you light with oil, you put the shamash close, it dips into the oil, it turns out, and I've seen all the scenarios how the shamash keeps turning out. You are not allowed to light the shamash from another Chanukah candle. You have to light it again with matches or put it on the sides a tea light and keep lighting it from the shamash. That's why it's important that the shamash is also, again, going back to the ready-made kits, they made, the quality is good, the wick is thick, you should not have a problem. Next, נר שקבע בתוך שיעור זמן חיוב דליקתו, נוהגים לחזור ולהדליקו בלי ברכה. If happens to be that one of the candles turn out during the time that they're supposed to light, you can light the candle again, just without a bracha, without a blessing. And you want to do it gentle, not to tip it over, not to do any mistake and turn the other ones off. You can take the shamash and do that. You can take a match, any other way, but you can light the candle that turned out. Just make sure you're not saying a blessing. אחר שיעור הזמן הנזכר לעיל, אפשר לטלטל את המנורה, גם אם המנורות דולקים. That's what you asked before. After the 50 minutes that the candles are lighting, then I'm already allowed to move the Chanukah, even if the candles are still lighting. This is only during the week. You're not allowed to do that on Shabbat. Just remember. Now it's extremely important, this is already for precautions and for safety. If you move the Chanukah while the candles are lighting, you have a very good chance they'll fall and chas v'shalom cause a problem. And if it's oil, it will be scattered all over the place. And if it's wax, then it will fall everywhere. Try not to move it. Or if you move it, make sure that you're moving it in a very stable way. But while they're lighting for the 50 minutes, or the half an hour after Tzet HaKochavim, whichever way you go by, you're not allowed to move the menorah. After that, you're allowed to move it, and just make sure that you're safe. And again, this is only during the week. On Shabbat, you're not allowed to move it after Shabbat comes in. נוהגים להתעכב סמוך לנרות חצי שעה לבד מערב שבת קודש. It's our custom to sit next to the candles for at least half an hour when they light, and you read, you meditate, you tell stories, you talk about Chanukah, you talk about the miracle, whatever you do, and you want to stay for about half an hour next to the candles, but not on Erev Shabbat, because Erev Shabbat you have to light it right before lighting the Shabbat candles, and then usually you're busy with many other things, preparing for the meal and so forth, so you don't have to sit the whole half hour next to the candles. לפני הדלקת נרות חנוכה יש לו לאסוף את כל בני ביתו משום פרסום הניסה. It's extremely important that right before you light the candles, you're gathering all the family members, you're waking everybody up, you're bringing everybody to the room where you light the candles in order to make sure that you're advertising the miracle. נוהגים להדליק נרות חנוכה בחגירת אבנץ, אך אין נוהגים ללבוש בגדי שבת להדלקתם. If you have the custom, of course it's talking about a man, to light the candle with a gartel, with a avnet, with a belt, but you're not obligated in lighting the candles dressed in Shabbat clothes, like in many other mitzvot that we do, that we are dressed in Shabbat clothes. Even though you're not obligated, it is beautifying the mitzvah that you're dressed appropriately. Don't come to the candle lighting with pajamas and with slippers. It is an auspicious time. It's a very special time. After this class, we're going to have a more mystical explanation of the candles and the time, which will make more sense why you want to make sure that everything is nice and set beautiful, and the table is set, and the house is clean, and you dress the right way, and you look appropriate. It's not an obligation, but you definitely want to do it because it's a special mitzvah, and you want to make sure you're doing it nice with an honorable way.